So let's begin today's lecture with a discussion of what land reforms are. Land reforms are a purposive change in the way in which cultural land is held or owned, the methods of cultivation being employed, and the relation of agriculture to the rest of the economy. If simply put, land reforms that the government could claim involves the changing of laws, regulations, or customs regarding land ownership. Land reform can therefore refer to ownership transference from the more powerful to the less powerful, from relatively wealthy owners with extensive land holdings to individual ownership by those who work on the land. Moving on, the land reforms in Pakistan had a checkered history. Many were farmed, yet they failed one after the other. Now, if we go back in the 1940s at the time of partition, when the land was completely dominated and controlled by landlords, at that time in 1947, the landlords basically represented 50% of councilmen in Punjab and 60% in Sindh. Do you know that the landlords back in 1951 in Punjab had won 80 seats out of 100, and in 1953 in Sindh they won 90% of the seats. At that time of point in Pakistan, the majority of the population resided in the rural areas and many were employed in the agricultural sector. Because of this reason, the distribution of income was unequal and prevailing. This was one of the main reasons for why the landlords were becoming richer and richer, whereas the farmers becoming poorer and poorer. Thus, this created a need for the land reforms to be implemented in order to eliminate and minimize the power of land holdings and landowners. So up till now, you would have been well informed about what land reforms are and why do we need such kind of land reforms. So now we will move on and highlight the historical evolution of land reforms from the time of Ayub in 1959 and moving on to the reforms of Bhutto in 1972. Starting off with the land reforms which were brought forward by Ayub during his regime, his land reforms were not dependent on the agrarian landed class. Through these reforms, the limits were defined for maximum land ownership. The first limit stated that if you have an area of irrigated land, you cannot hold more than 500 acres. The second limit stated that if you have arid land, you cannot hold the land which is more than 1,000 acres. The third and last limit stated that those owning land more than the limits stated previously will have the option to how they want these reforms to be implemented. Or even the land reform can be implemented on the basis of PIU that was supposed to be 36,000 PIU. Now moving on to PIU. What is PIU? PIU, widely known as Product Index Unit, is a unit for the measurement of land's productivity, which was introduced by British to impose tax. Here is the formula for calculating PIU. This formula uses a constant value which is generated by government by keeping in certain key factors, such as the quality of soil, whether the land is irrigated or arid, the weather, and suitable for which type of crop. PIU is calculated on the basis of locality and irrespective of area one is holding. The tax would be on how many PIUs you have. Now let's do an example to solve how PIU is calculated. For instance, there is locality A with a total land area of 1,000 acres. And total market value of crops equal to 200,000 and with a constant value of 3. Now using the formula to calculate PIU, we get a value of 600 PIU per acre. This means that 1 acre of land is equal to 600 PIU. So now let's look at 10 acres of land will have how many PIU? As we saw that 1 acre of land is equal to 600 PIU, so how many PIUs would be equal to 10 acres of land? Through calculation, we can see that 10 acres of land is equal to 6,000 PIU. Moving on the other hand, if we have locality B with a total area of 1,000 acres and a total market value of crops equal to 100,000 and a constant value of 3. Using the formula of PIU, we get a value of 300 PIU per acre. So now, how many PIU are equal to 10 acres of land if 1 acre of land is equal to 300 PIU. After calculating, we can see that 10 acres of land is equal to 3000 PIU. This brings us to the conclusion that A is holding a more productive land than B, which has a less productive land. Thus, A will be taxed more. Back in 1959, the reforms were made with the intention of putting ceilings on land holdings and tenancy regulations, but still ended up not being able to reduce the feudal power in Pakistan. So now let's explore the reasons for why these reforms were unsuccessful. Land ownership was highly skewed from the starting, which meant it was in favor of large landlords that controlled large tracts of land. Let's start with some statistics to show you so that you have a better picture. Only 6,000, which was equal to 0.1% owners being present at that time, owned about 7.5 million acres, which was equal to 15.4% out of the total land. On the accountability of government, only 5,064 out of 6,000 declared their lands, and even out of that, only 763 were affected by ceilings on their individual land holdings. Such were the disparities in the land distribution. Now, the land that was declared by the people was 5.5 million acres, yet the government could only resume 1.9 million acres of the land. The land was purchased by the government, and at the rate the land was acquired, it varied from region to region. It was about 1 to 5 rupees per PIU. Amount was paid to the owners in 50 biannual installments, and the remaining balance on a 4% interest rate. And in return, the land was sold by the government at 8 rupees per PIU. Most of the land was retained by the landlords themselves due to their numerous cunning ways. Now, even the land that did happen to be handed over was uncultivated. Yes, you heard that right. Not only the government could attain bare minimum acres of land, but the amount that did happen to be handed over was 57% uncultivated. Poor quality lands that produced almost nothing. The other feature of these land reforms was that resumed land was sold to landless tenants. However, when 50% of the land was sold, only 20% of landless tenants got the land, and the rest was auctioned to rich farmers and military officials. Lastly, the failure of these reforms, along with people's cunning ways, was the PIU system, as it was based on pre-partition revenue settlements, which resulted in reporting lower than the true value of land. Bhutto, seeing Ayub Khan's land reforms as inadequate, was responsible for two major land reform regimes. The most prominent feature of Bhutto's land reforms that differentiated from Ayub's included: no compensation was given to landowners at the time of land resumption, and it was distributed free to landless tenants. Secondly, ceiling fixed for individual holdings for the irrigated land was 150 acres, and that for unirrigated land was 300 acres. Lastly, he wrote off all dues of peasants who had outstanding loans due to land acquisition during 1959 Ayub Khan's land reform time period. The second amendment in land reforms was security and rights of farmers and tenants, and introduction of laws which gave tenants first right to buy the land they farmed, meaning that the landowners had to sell the land to the tenants rather than a third party, encouraging the tenants to work hard on the land in hopes of buying them. Bhutto was only able to acquire 0.6 million acres, which was far less than Ayub's. Moreover, there were bigger reasons, including PIU, yet once again, as the values remained unchanged while everything affecting the value had been changed in Indus Basin. Failure of lack of application of the law with uniformity, and the enthusiasm also died with time due to the political exigencies. Lastly, the produced land value was being underestimated due to change in prices, cropping intensities, and irrigation issue. This brings us to the end of our today's lecture. We discussed what land reforms are, why land reforms were introduced. We also learned how to calculate PIU and how Bhutto's and Ayub's land reforms differentiated from each other. Hopefully, this lecture would have increased your knowledge on land reforms. Thank you for watching.